What's up, everybody? My name is Osias, and today I am reviewing the 80 Pro-8 Freeblazer tripod in carbon fiber. A few months ago, I realized I needed another tripod, but I wanted something that would allow me to set up my tripod just a little bit faster than what it typically takes me, especially since I decided to start building out my camera rig. For the past 4+ years, I've been using the Peak Design tripod, as well as another cheaper tripod. I think it's called the Benro tripod. I think I spent less than $100 for it. But as we all aim to improve our setups, I thought it was time to improve my setup. So today we're diving into a review of this tripod, but by the end, I hope to answer one big major question. Is it necessary to upgrade to a video-centric tripod? And is it necessary to spend $800 for it? Let's get into it. I'm not going to get super technical with this, but let's get into some pros with this tripod. First, we're going to talk about the materials. Pretty much aluminum alloy for some parts, mostly carbon fiber to keep down on the weight, and some pretty hard plastic. I don't see any issues with this build, although I kind of wish they would have did something a little bit differently just to make it a little bit more ergonomic. All right, let's move this a little closer. So another major pro I think has to be acknowledged is that it's definitely built for heavier rigs. As I'm building out my rig, as you can see, I have a cage on it, as well as a little mat box and a monitor and some handles, and it's starting to get a little bit heavy. So I have it set up so that way I can just take it on and off this tripod as quickly as possible. So when it comes to weight, I don't see any issues. I've seen other people have the same tripod set up with heavier setups like an FX6 monitor, audio, the whole 9 yards. So as far as stability goes, in its current configuration, it's extremely sturdy. I don't have any fears or any issues about this tripod. I'm not worried about it tipping over. Like if I want to tip it over, I have to actually intentionally come and tip it over. But I don't think I can just come in, just accidentally tip this thing over, which is a fear that I have with my Peak Design tripod. It's pretty light. I feel like I could tip it over. Now I've been extremely careful, and thank God that hasn't happened yet, but it's a possibility. The other thing is it has the ability to spread its legs out a little bit wider to get it even more stable. So when it comes to stability, I don't have any quarrels with it. When it comes to smooth panning and getting smooth shots, I don't have any concerns with being able to do that. Personally, I believe the system will be a little bit smoother if I added a little bit more weight to it. Quick adjustments. This tripod has the ability to make quick adjustments with one lever per leg, basically, to adjust each leg. Now, this is one of the big reasons why I bought this tripod. There are some cons to this system that I'd never really thought about or considered. So we'll talk about that shortly once we get to the cons. The fluid head, again, no issues with the fluid head. We have, as far as durability, I think durability, that's something that we notice over time, but the build quality seems to be relatively nice. I don't see any frays, any issues with the build quality fresh out of the box. I think this is a tripod that should compete with the best of them as far as build quality goes. Although there are some tripods out there that look a lot cleaner, a lot nicer. I think specifically that, I don't know how to pronounce it right now, but it's the Schaeffler tripod, that one that's like $2,200. Yeah, that one is ergonomically, it looks like it's probably one of the best that you could choose. When it comes to compatibility, you know, you can get yourself a Manfrotto. It's compatible with your Manfrotto plates, and as well as I have other gimbals and things like that. So the plate for the gimbal, you could just take it right off your DJI RS2 and pop it right on this bad boy, and you're good to go. Now, that's not a system I've tested out yet, but the parts are the same. I've looked at them, I've compared them. It'll work, no problems, no issues there. A couple other things that I like about the tripod is that the handle that they have here is easily adjustable. It extends out pretty long, has a really long extension. And the last thing is good for left or right-handedness. Now, I have an issue with that. I was just about to forget. One of the bigger issues with this tripod and this handle as it relates to the handle, before I forget, is that when you use this handle on the right side, which I'm right-handed, if I set this handle up on the right side, the door which holds the battery, is right up under it. So if you need to change the battery, you won't really be able to change the battery if you have the handle here. It's just in the way. You don't have enough room to get the battery out. So I opted to put it on the left-hand side. You can move this forward or back, but it doesn't sit on the plate, right? So consider that. This is gonna go to one of the cons. Now, because this is not a super technical review, I would advise you to go check out another channel or a few more channels to see the different things that people have to say about it. But I'm gonna tell you guys right now, when I watched other videos about this specific tripod, I couldn't gain really the cons about this tripod other than, like, some people mention it might be a little heavy, but it's a considerable difference. It's a considerable weight difference when you're going from a Peak Design tripod and this tripod. Now, I can't pick it up if I want to with one hand. So you say, well, that's great, but I'm relatively strong. And you know, this has gotta be at least like 30 pounds. Let's see. Okay, this is a 35-pound weight. Something I typically work out with. And let's see. Yeah, that's getting close to, with the tripod, the camera, the batteries. I don't even have a V-mount battery on here yet, which I know is going to add more weight. It's not light. So, and the tripod by itself is relatively heavy. It's, let's see if we have the specs. Okay, so the tripod by itself is nearly 20 pounds. This is not something I looked at before I bought this tripod. They said, I mean, it's carbon fiber. I assumed it's probably like a 10-pound tripod, but 18.51 pounds, pretty beefy, pretty heavy. But again, good for stability. The negative, the con is that if you have to walk around with this thing all day and move it a bunch of times, it's not that great. I've moved it around my house a few times and, you know, hey, I didn't mind doing it, but it's gonna take some effort. And that's, that I promise you. Okay, all right, so those were some of the pros. Let's talk about the cons of this tripod. Again, it's almost like every pro of this tripod is also a con, unfortunately. The first con we'll start with, which I've kind of already mentioned, is the heaviness of this tripod. It is relatively heavy. There's no getting around it. 20 pounds, it's a big difference than your other smaller tripods. The second con about this tripod that I really wasn't expecting is, and I'm gonna take a step back, hopefully you guys can see this, the adjustability. You see people adjusting this tripod. Well, it's kind of a big deal that the levers for adjusting are kind of down here. With the Sheckler Pro tripod, that really expensive one, I think they also have a Sure. Also, I think Potato Jet has another tripod system that has yet to be released, which I was praying would get released because honestly, it's probably the tripod I need.
Oh, interesting. So that it's a quick release on top?
Yeah, so I'll bring it up to show the camera. But yeah, I mean, that's the good stuff right there. That is the X clutch system. So, you know, you can fold down into a grip, but whenever you want to adjust height, you pop it out and basically you grip it and it releases all legs and all stages. So makes the setup process a little bit easier.
But this particular tripod, this system is supposed to be easy to lift up and down. So in order to lift the system up and down, now that I'm in place, it falling, no issues. Lifting, it lifts pretty quickly. And as you can see, it gets pretty tall. But when it's time to lock this bad boy in place, look, one of my legs didn't even go down all the way. Oh, there we go. Once it's time to lock this bad boy down, when you have to level it, you're trying to hold it with your weight, with your arms, to make sure that the level is good. And you're basically awkwardly holding it like this, trying to make sure that the legs and that the head are relatively level, especially if you're not all the way extended up and all the way extended down. So let's go ahead and lower it real quick. And right now, as high as this tripod is, I can't see the bubble. I can't see, at this height, there's no way for me to figure out if this thing is level. Now, the only way for me to do it is to turn my camera on and use my camera screen level to actually level it that way. But hopefully, and I don't know, I haven't tested this yet, but hopefully once I level it one way and I pan, it's also going to be level the other way. And there's no way for me to know that. So yeah, actually I don't know how to really solve for that issue. I don't really know how to solve for it other than, like I said, just using the camera's level to see your level. And now the other thing when it comes to the awkwardness of this system, and we're talking about the leveling and the awkwardness of the system, it's kind of two things in one, is that even if you can see the level or you're at a good height to see the level. So for example, I set this tripod up, let's just say relatively quickly. If you can tell, this camera is not level. The tripod is not level. Now, I either have to go through and release one of the legs and try to get a little level, which is not that big of a deal. But again, I'm still, let's say, not perfectly level. Now, the second thing I have to do is grab this handle right under here to get this to be level. And that bubble level, the issue is that the bubble level is right up under the camera. And depending on how you're standing, if you don't have enough light, and it's awkwardly placed underneath the camera, so you're trying to see if that bubble is perfectly centered, it takes a little minute and a little finagling to be able to quickly get it there. Now, maybe I just need more practice, but to me, it's not the most intuitive thing, which is kind of a con for me. I should be able to level this a lot faster, and I should be able to see the level bubble, the bubble easier, and not have to struggle with it, especially as you get to higher and lower heights. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but again, it's a big issue for me. And the difficulty and the awkwardness to really be able to adjust it. If I'm here trying to adjust this tripod and I undo this leg and I undo this one, I have to reach over here to get to the other one. And then I have to reach to tighten that one down. Ergonomically, if you're moving your tripod a lot, it's gonna get annoying. So I don't know. When you're thinking about a system that's really quick and easy to adjust, it should be quicker, it should be faster. That's why I think Potato Jet's tripod is gonna be amazing. All right, next. The other issue is that if you wanna adjust, with your traditional photography tripods, this column has the ability to adjust in height. So if I wanted to get close to the height, and let's say I'm not high enough, I have to actually take these legs just to raise it up an inch or two. And I think that's, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say it's problematic, but it's annoying. That level of not being able to adjust, I have to now unloosen all three of these in order to get another 2 inches. And then once I do that, I gotta level the whole thing again because I'm probably off. There's a good possibility my level is off. So these things for an $800 tripod, to me, it should be way easier, in my opinion, humbly, but it should be way easier. You guys tell me, am I tripping or something? Like, shouldn't this be a little bit easier? I don't know. I digress. So if you're thinking about getting one of these tripods, one of the big cons is this tripod could make it more difficult for you. So don't just automatically go get a bigger tripod just because you think it's going to make it easier, or get a more expensive tripod just because you think it's going to make it easier. It might be better to get a lightweight tripod. And there's a few out there that has the independent abilities to adjust the tripod height that might be a few $100 cheaper. Now, another thing that costs money about this tripod is this fluid head. I'm sure you could get a cheaper fluid head, and some people might advise you to get a cheaper fluid head. I probably should have got a cheaper fluid head, and that probably would have saved me a little bit of money and adjust for this system, but that's what I did. So hopefully I've kind of explained to you guys some of my frustrations with this tripod. Am I going to send it back? I don't know. I have a tendency to keep things because I know I can use it around the studio. If I do take it somewhere, it'll be a nice tripod to have. And the last thing is I might want to compare it to something else. So later on in the future. Those might be the reasons why I hold on to this tripod. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. And I know for sure, without a doubt, this is not going to be the last tripod I buy. So with a little bit of frustrations, $800 later, would I recommend you to buy this? I would say if you have a rig similar to mine's, or you have a heavier rig, it's not a bad investment if you're not going the $2,200 route with the Shackler Flow Tech tripod system. That's $2,200. And even that system, the differences that I was able to tell is that these levers, instead of them being down low, they're actually up higher. So to me, that makes it cumbersome a little less awkward. But when it comes to leveling this guy out and the bubbles and all that other stuff, yeah, I don't know. I can't confidently say that I love it, but I'll keep it for now. And the last con with this tripod that I have to let you guys know about is that it doesn't get super low down to the ground. In order for me to get this tripod absolutely lower, I have to remove this center spreader. They have another spreader that came inside the box that attaches to the feet at the very bottom, and then you can get it, I think, down to like 49 inches or something like that. So I haven't done it yet, but that's the system, that's the setup, and that's the truth about this tripod. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys have similar tripods, or a tripod that you love, a system that you love, especially when you're getting into some of the heavier rigs, heavier camera gear, but something that's gonna make it easy for you to shoot easy B-roll and stuff like that, because half the stuff that we do, we wanna do quickly. All right, peace. Oh yeah, one thing it does come with is a cell phone mount. I can't imagine you using a cell phone with this giant tripod, but it does have a hot shoe on top of the holder, and I think you just take this and just screw it right onto the Manfrotto plate. So that's something I didn't know I was gonna get. All right, guys, I'm Osias, and peace until the next video.